behind this. Gaura, let me come to you. The top 6 US exports to India. Let's look at crude, LNG, machinery, pharma, all of that facing less than 10% tariffs and make up over 45% of the US-India trade. Isn't this a case of India being unfairly painted as the villain while actually offering real access?
Yes, so it's just as Madhavi said, it is little, it's not really due to macro factors, it's more geopolitical. It's also the fact that, let's say China, you can't really, he did escalate briefly the trade war with China, and China is the main reason why these tariff tensions began in the first place. But the fact that he could not persist is because of China's control over rare earths. In the case of India, we don't have that sort of critical control over, let's say, rare earth materials, which would be very important for the semiconductor industry in the US. So it's easier for them to escalate the rhetoric and shift. For example, they were earlier focused on China. Now they're shifting to a newer target. So it's basically to keep the conversation and the popular focus on tariffs. And India, especially compared to, let's say, China, where China, the volume of trade, the kind of control it has on raw materials, etc., it's difficult to sustain that level of tension. When in the case of India, we are, I would say, it'll be easier for them to, come up with these sort of aggressive statements and continue these trade tensions with us, because the kind of, in the sense, the China's control over rare earth is kind of like a defense mechanism against this tariff tension. It could not have persisted any longer with China. So they are just finding, I would say, a new topic, a new country to ensure that they are able to sustain the populist focus. And this is more a political game that the US is doing for their own voter bank, right? They are showing that we are doing something to protect US jobs. It's very easy to paint India as the highest tariff because, as you mentioned, on the simple average metric, we are standing out on the higher level. India also comes into the spotlight when it comes to outsourcing, and there's this narrative that, let's say, the outsourcing is a threat to domestic job creation in the US. So India is, I would say, an easy target, and an easy target for temporarily sustaining the trade war momentum, which is mostly he's catering to his own domestic populace. It has nothing to do with India. We are a very small problem in their trade deficit. Their trade deficit is $1 trillion. Their trade deficit with India is $46 billion. Are the services, though everybody touts India's services surplus, which is overall substantial, and a large market for our services exports is the US. But on a net basis, we have a broadly balanced services trade with the US. So it's not that, we have a large surplus with the US on the services front, and this is based on data from the US government. So I would say this is more a political game that he is using to extend the narrative of trade wars. So they couldn't focus too much on China, so they found a newer target, which is I would say relatively easier to pinpoint compared to China.
Yeah, but that target seems to be firing back, although in quite a measure.